Okay. So in this video, we're going to be talking about data cleaning and data quality. So cleaning, as I said in a previous video, is basically takes up 70–80% of a statistician's or an analyst's time. So actually collecting the data and going through and cleaning it. So by cleaning it, we mean taking your data from the raw data and putting it into something that's useful. So I have some examples. So this is a data set that I have already cleaned. And it's nice and pretty, right? You have ID, you have, there's no missing data in here. Everything is nice and neat and organized, right? But it took a lot of time to get here. So this is the raw data download. So you don't see, like, these columns don't have names or headers. If you go through here, like, there's a lot of missing data in here. The reason for this is because people were randomly assigned to one of three conditions. So these all had to be merged. Some of the data is missing. You'll notice that this was Likert scale questions. So to what extent do you agree? Very moderately. That all has to be converted to the 1 to 5 scale, or 1 to 7. Then you have to come up with averages or totals for the different construct. We have questions in here where people had to respond to different answers, right? So this is a lot of work in terms of cleaning this, coming up with variable names, scoring things. So it does take time, and this is actually a really simple data set. Imagine where you have 50 data sets that you have to merge based off of an ID, which is what I had to do for my dissertation. So all of that you want to automate basically as much as possible. So you don't want to go through here one by one and say extremely is 5. Right, and convert. You will, first of all, it'll take you forever. I would still be doing my dissertation. And then two, that introduces human error, right? You could accidentally put 4 instead of 5. So I just want to give you kind of like a preview of what this kind of can look like to some extent. And this is, of course, with survey research. What if you have images that you have to work with? Like that's a different ballpark. Another thing that you might want to think about too is whenever you have data, is you want to have some type of code book that explains what your data set is. So in this one we have ID. Well, what is that? Well, that's the participant ID. CRI, right, stands for careless response item. So I talked about this, I think, in a previous video or in the previous slides, right? Did someone fail or not? If we look at female, right, you might be like, oh, that's like, are they male or female, or do they identify otherwise? And so, yeah, but what is female? Is female 1 or 0? So in this code book, it tells you that females, right, are 1 and males are 0. That's pretty important to know. So a code book will help you and other researchers, that you can share that with them so that they know, oh, this is what the variables mean, this is how they're measured, this is what scale was used, that sort of thing. But it can also help your future self. So like I said, my dissertation started collecting data and all that in probably 2013, 14, and I just published it in 2021. So what was Kristen thinking 5 years ago in terms of what does MC.T stand for? I would have no idea. So Codebook will help you keep track of this. So this is another important part of the data process, is that cleaning the data set. So these are things that you should be aware of as a data analyst, a statistician, or whatever, but then also someone who's maybe not actually analyzing the data himself, herself, but somebody who's, part of this process and wants maybe data analyzed by a certain date. We have to understand that it's a process and it takes time. So being aware of that. How do you handle missing data is another thing. So there was no missing data really ultimately in the data set I showed you. But for my dissertation, there was a ton of missing data. So what do you do? Right? Do you delete all of those responses? Maybe, but then you're going to lose a ton of data. So for my dissertation, we just took the average and we replaced all those missing values with average values. So that's one thing that you can do. But those are things that you want to think about as an analyst, but then also someone who's consuming the data or using the data to make decisions, is what happened? What did you do with missing data? Was there missing data? That sort of thing. And then having a code book to share. Another thing to think about in terms of data quality is how old is the data? And this is a really hard question to answer, because it really depends on the data itself. Is it when does data become obsolete, right? In certain fields, like, data is obsolete very quickly, whereas other times data might last and be good for 5–10 years. It really depends on the data that you're working with. So you might want to ask people in your organization, if you have data that you have collected over time, you can look at maybe the rate of change of how things have changed over time, to see how long, like what is the shelf life of the data. You might want to think if it's relevant or irrelevant, or actually the appropriate data to answer your questions. So, for example, in academia, we have to do assessment of learning to make sure students are reaching the goals that we're setting for them. And so we have to go through and make sure that they're doing that. And so this past year when we did it, a lot of people, faculty members were saying that, hey, is this data really helpful for us to see if we're meeting our learning goals because of COVID, right? Were students not meeting the learning objectives and goals because we weren't doing a good job teaching? Or was it because of other factors? Their internet was down, they didn't have the face-to-face instruction that helped them do well otherwise. So sometimes you have to think about, right, is the data appropriate? Which goes along with the next item is does the data that you have, is it measuring what it's supposed to? Meaning, is it valid? Or are you using different types of proxies to measure different variables? So, for example, if you're looking at people and you're saying, you're looking at in your organization turnover, so people quitting, right? That's one thing to look at people who've actually left your organization, versus saying like, well, we maybe don't have that data, but we can ask people, are they planning on quitting? Well, those are different things, right? That's the same thing of saying like, hey, are you going on vacation this year? Yes, I have one planned, or yes, we went somewhere. Versus saying like, do you plan on going to a vacation, or would you like to go on a vacation? Yeah, I would like to go on a vacation. I'd like to do this, but will I ultimately? Maybe not. So sometimes intentions and actual behaviors are different, but sometimes they're actually used, right? Sometimes people will say like, we'll just ask people if they intend on quitting, and we'll use that as a measure for turnover, when in fact they're not always the same. So whenever you are, again, consuming data or making decisions, think about how the variables that you're interested in studying were and are measured, right? Are they valid? Are they measuring what they're supposed to? And you might think, well, why not just get the data that you're supposed to? Well, sometimes it's not that easy. So, for example, I've done research where we're looking at CEO narcissism. It would be great to go up to Fortune 500 CEOs and be like, hey, can you take the MPI 13 or 16 for me? Quick survey, it'll take you 2 minutes. That's not going to happen. So instead of giving them surveys, we had to find other less invasive ways of measuring narcissism. So one thing that we did is we went through their different their speech to analyze their personality. So we went through if they had shareholder meetings, if they talked, if they were being interviewed, and we looked through the different words that they use to be able to use their language as a proxy for narcissism. So is it a perfect measure of narcissism? Well, even as a questionnaire, a perfect measure of narcissism, right? They may be different, they may be the same, but that was an example of where we couldn't actually give them the surveys, which typically are a valid, reliable measure, because it wasn't feasible. We couldn't go to all the CEOs and ask them, hey, I know you don't know me, but do the survey. Like they have other things to do. So again, you want to think about, right, not just the analyses, but the data that you have, right? How was missing data handled? How were constructs measured? Are things valid and reliable? Is the data old? Is it relevant? Those sorts of things. So again, those are things that you want to think about not only as an analyst, as a consumer, but as someone who's a part of this data analytics process. Make sure you're asking these questions.